Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Oliver. I'm joined today by my colleagues Hara Spaeti and Norbert Schlingmann from the AEF. We're going to, in this session this afternoon, we're going to give you an overview of the AEF activities in general, and then talk a little bit more about interoperability. And then tomorrow, at the same time, if you're free, there'll be another session by the AEF, and we'll give an overview of some of the project teams, some of the advanced project teams that are working on some very interesting things. Those of Project Team 10, the High-Speed Isobus Group, the Wireless In-Field Communication Group, and also the Medium Voltage Group. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Today we're talking about the AEF and interoperability. So I get to go first. So let me see if I can share my screen without any mishap. I'm assuming you can see a presentation in presentation mode. And if so, I will just continue. So really, as far as an AEF overview, we just wanted to outline, possibly there's some people on the call who don't know too much about the AEF. So really, the AEF stands for the Agricultural Industry Electronics Foundation. We were founded in 2008, and it was actually a couple of years ago now. We had our 10th anniversary. We celebrated it in 2018, actually in Bologna during one of our Plugfests. The initial formation was 8 main OEMs and a couple of trade associations, and now that's actually grown to 3 trade associations. And then we have a whole lot of member companies, normal members, and we're up to just over 230 at the moment. The whole reason behind the AEF is really to support Isobus implementation in the market, in the ag sector. Isobus had been defined as a standard way back in the early 2000s. However, as we all know, there were certain, let's say, gaps between what was in the standard and what people were actually implementing in the field. So that was really the reason for the AEF to be formed, to help close those gaps between the standard and the actual implementations. So as far as the AEF today, we have 13 different project teams, and we're supported by 5 international test labs who can actually certify Isobus products on behalf of the OEMs. Really, we've been defining guidelines and standards for the ag industry. The initial focus has been on, the tractor implement connection using Isobus, but as you'll see this afternoon, that sort of scope is expanding a lot further. So yeah, the project teams, basically they're the basis of the AEF. They're the, well, apart from the people hard at work in the AEF office, it's the project teams who, they're made up of volunteers from our different member companies, and they're generally experts in their field, and they come together in these different project teams to contribute their expertise to find common, solutions that we could adopt industry-wide, which are obviously beneficial for our products, but also for our customers too. In a typical scenario, the project teams work on solutions, they do an investigation, and they release what's called an AEF guideline. And the idea being that if you're a manufacturer and you want to develop Isobus products, you should be referring to the ISO standard, but then in parallel, you need to be referring to the AEF guideline. And that gives you the most success with your Isobus developments. And then finally, when the AEF releases a guideline, it gets passed over the wall, if you like, passed over to the ISO group and to one of the working groups that's actually working on the standard or responsible for the 11783 standard. So typically AEF guidelines get written into or included in the next revision of the ISO standard. So it's a process which is circular, and it means that AEF guidelines are not, if you like, created and lost. They actually get incorporated into the next revision of the standard, actually making it obviously better for all. Okay, yeah, 13 project teams. I mentioned a couple of them during the introduction. So there's the high-speed isobus group, the WIC or wireless in-field communication and medium voltage group. And we'll actually be hearing from those team leaders tomorrow. So I'm not going to cover those things now, but really we've got a group that's responsible for developing and maintaining our conformance test. We've got a group that's responsible for functional safety. And what they're doing is they're looking at other ISO standards like 25119, for example, and they're trying to make sure that the things we're doing with isobus do not contradict what's in these other safety standards. So they're always kind of comparing the standards there to make sure that from the functional safety point of view, we're going in the right direction. There's the E&I team. They're responsible for actually releasing our guidelines. They're responsible for the Plugfest as well, and they have far too many things to do that I don't understand how they can go ahead, but it's well managed there. Service and diagnostics. This is the team that's responsible for the isobus database, which I'll come to later in the presentation as well. Isobus automation, that's the team that's responsible for the release of TIM, Tractor Implement Management, that we released last year at Agritechnica. C&M, that's the group that I am leading, and obviously our job is to promote the AEF. The high voltage and the camera systems teams are both teams who have, if you like, we've actually started to wind them up, because the high voltage team, they worked on a high voltage electrical connector that could be used between the tractor and implement, and that actually ended up being released as a number of AEF guidelines, which have then been passed over to ISO, and there's a new ISO standard detailing a high voltage electrical connector. So their work is 99% completed, and it's the same with the camera systems. Those guys were working on a standard connector for analog camera signals. They agreed on one, they released an AEF guideline. And then as far as digital camera signals, which obviously, we all know is kind of the next big thing, that work has passed into the high-speed isobus group. And then also, there's the Project Team 9, the FMIS team. And these guys have been working on a conformance test for FMISs to make sure they import and export ISO XML files correctly. And they've also been working on this subject called EFDI, or Extended FMIS Data Interface, which Norbert will cover slightly later on in his presentation. Then finally, one of the newest teams is the security team, and they've been formed really to look at the area of cybersecurity. So a lot of the work in the different project teams is actually moving more and more into the area of, if you like, wireless communication. And we felt there was a need for a common team to make sure to collect all the cybersecurity requirements from the different teams and to address that collectively. So that's a team which was just formed just over a year ago now, and they've been very busy so far collecting all the requirements from the other teams. So hopefully you're aware of this whole functionality concept, and that was really the one of the first things that the AEF wanted to do, is how can we make isobus simple to understand? The idea being here that if we talk about isobus in terms of functionalities, if you see this function on a tractor, you see this function on the implement, you know that there, if you like, a shared functionality on the isobus, and you should be able to use that function between that tractor and the implement. We always have the ... there because we know that there'll be more functionalities defined in the future. So it's if you like, it's an open concept. Yeah, so as I mentioned here, in this case, if we've got a tractor with a slurry wagon, and you can see, you look up in the database that the tractor supports UT, task controller, basic task controller, geo. You see that the forager wagon supports the same functionalities. Then you know when you plug those two together on the isobus, these should be the compatible functionalities. However, having an ICE label is not enough. So we had to go ahead and develop a conformance test to actually test everybody's isobus products, isobus ECUs, to prove that to see if they comply with the AEF guidelines and with the, obviously the ISO 11783 standard. And in that case, the product becomes certified, and then certified products work together. That's the whole point of the conformance test. Currently, there are 5 independent test laboratories that can carry out this conformance test, but manufacturers who belong to the AEF can also purchase for an annual fee a copy of the conformance test to run in-house as they're developing isobus products. And that way they know that when they finally have a product ready for release, when they send it to one of these licensed testing houses, they know it's already going to pass the conformance test. So this is running the conformance test in-house is really quite essential. If you have the means, it really helps with your development cycle. And obviously, if you certify a product, if it passes the conformance test, it can wear this physical label, this certified label. And we wanted to make this certified label simple, so we don't vary this in any way. If you look at the elements of the label, we say that this is an AEF certified product. We give reference to the database website where you can look this product up, and we show some of the functionalities that are available. But by having one standard label, we felt that this would be the easiest way for manufacturers, for marketing people to implement. There's no variation here. You don't have to change the little blue squares on the right-hand side based on which component you've got certified. Whenever you see this label, you know it's on a certified product. If you want to know exactly which functionalities that product supports, you need to look it up in the AEF isobus database. So the database, this is a website, a database, also available as an app for your smartphone, and it's where manufacturers can list their certified products. So if a product has not passed the conformance test, it can't be uploaded to the database. Obviously, manufacturers are, getting their products certified and putting them in the database, but dealers can actually have database access as well. If they go to the website and they scroll on down, they can request access as a dealer. It needs to be approved by the manufacturing brands they represent, or the manufacturing brands have an SSO to allow the dealers to have access. But also members of the public, they can create a database account as well, and they can do the most simple thing, which is a manual compatibility check. And basically, for members of the public, this manual compatibility check can help them understand, okay, I've got a tractor with, the UT or the task controller geo isobus function. I'm looking for a sprayer which supports TC geo. They can look that up in the database. They can look up their tractor, and then they can look up the implement they're thinking of buying, even before going to the dealer, to understand the isobus functionality it supports. So yeah, here's a screenshot of some of the manufacturers that are in the database. There are actually a few more now. So you can search the database in different ways via the manufacturer. You could search via product category, so tractor, planter, baler, for example. You could also search via functionality. So you could be searching for a sprayer that supports TCGO, for example. So there's various different ways, and also, dealers can use this diagnostic file upload as well if they have a diagnostic file that was created from running the Isobus check tool. Okay, so here's just I guess a very quick screenshot of what you can see in the database. In this example, we're looking up, we can see a class tractor. We can see that there's a display from Topcon, the X35 display in there, and we can see that on the back of the tractor, we've got a Kverneland pull type sprayer. What the database shows is it shows the software version that's been certified. That's obviously very important information for dealers if they have to diagnose any Isobus issues. And then all the functionalities are shown on the right-hand side. If a functionality square is blue on the outline, that means that product has been certified for that functionality. And then in addition, if the functionality blue square is completely solid, if it's a solid blue, and here we can see that the UT functionality is solid blue, then that means that that's a supported functionality when all those things are plugged together on the Isobus. So as you can see, it's a very useful tool for understanding what you can do with the Isobus systems you have in the yard or you're thinking of buying. And then finally, if you select on a functionality for a particular product, you get a pop-up window which can actually tell you slightly more information. So here we can see that the Kverneland sprayer, for section control, it supports 24 sections. So again, that can be useful for if you're purchasing, or again for the dealer trying to resolve an Isobus issue. I mentioned Project Team 3, the E&I team. One of their responsibilities is the Plugfest. And the Plugfest events, normally they happen twice a year, except for this 2020, the year of COVID. Normally they happen twice a year, once in sort of, May in North America and in September or October in Europe. And basically it's a 3-day event for engineers of all our member companies to come together, and they have half an hour time slots to go to different tables in the room. Normally there's around about 50 tables. And typically at the table, you've got the people who have displays. They're set up at the table all the time. And there's this kind of Isobus backbone on the table. And every half an hour, the buzzer goes, and someone with an Isobus ECU or another Isobus product comes along, they sit down, they connect to that backbone, they connect to the display, and they check for compatibility. Is there a problem on the implement side? Is there a problem on the tractor side? Can we fix it straight away, or do we need to swap the business cards and the CAN logs and, keep things going via email? So the Plugfests are a really essential tool, if you like, for helping everybody develop and release Isobus compatible products. And they're also really good for people who, for this contact, this cross-manufacturer contact for all these engineers that are working on one common product, which is, obviously Isobus. The last Plugfest we did successfully manage to have was in Antibes, in the south of France, last September. The next Plugfest we're planning to have will actually be next October now in Stuttgart. So we're still got to wait almost a year for another Plugfest. Project Team 5, they've been very busy for a number of years now, but last year was kind of the most exciting year because they actually released this new functionality called TIM. And really, what is TIM? It's Tractor Implement Management, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with Isobus Class 3. Well, it's Isobus Class 3 messages, but using this AEF security protocol. And the idea is that any manufacturer who passes the AEF conformance test and can be certified for TIM, they get specific security keys from the AEF, and any AEF certified TIM product can work with any other AEF certified TIM product. And why is the certification so important? Because you're actually saying that I'm allowing this implement that I've connected to the back of my tractor to control certain functions on the tractor. Obviously, if it can do that, it can optimize its operation. And if you like, we're kind of moving up that automation ladder, one step up from auto guidance. There's a lot of customer benefits for allowing the system to manage itself. And we were lucky enough early this year to win a couple of awards from North America. So we won the ASABE AE50 award for the release of TIM. And then because of that, we actually managed to win the Davidson Prize, which is awarded to the top 3 AE50 award winners. So that was quite really a proud moment for the AEF. The baling example is a really good example for TIM. So if you imagine a round baler working in the field, every time the bale chamber's full, the driver's got to stop the tractor, he's got to activate the net wrapping, he's got to open the tailgate, drop the bale, close the tailgate, start again. There's a number of operations that he has to do. If he's using a TIM tractor and a TIM baler, all he has to do is start driving at the end of at the start of each baling cycle. He's just got to move that shuttle lever or hit a button and start moving forward. The TIM system manages itself. And then each manufacturer and each tractor and implement manufacturer, as they're releasing TIM products, they certify the specific TIM functions they support, and all that information is available in the database, so that if you're interested in TIM, you can look it up in the database and see which tractors and which functions have TIM certifications and which functionalities they need. Okay, so just looking at the the AEF, our products, we have guidelines. They're available to member companies who want to develop ISOBUS software which is compatible. We've developed this conformance test, which it's a test for any ISOBUS ECU, and any certified ISOBUS product which passes the conformance test can be listed in the database. The database is a resource open to everybody, public, dealers, and manufacturers, and obviously it helps everybody work with ISOBUS and understand the functionalities of the systems they have or the systems they're going to buy. And then, yeah, when it's a good year, we typically have Plugfest twice a year to help manufacturers come together and check compatibility. Okay, so I think I've stopped sharing, and I would like to hand over to Norbert Schlingmann to give you a quick overview of the interoperability subject and how the AEF is really moving into that area. And then after that, we'll hear from Hara talking about Atlas. Norbert, are you ready to take it away?
Yes, I think so. So can you see my screen?
I can, and you're in presentation mode, so please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So you makes me very easy. It makes you prepared it very well for me to talk about ISOBUS interoperability beyond the machines. So what's behind that? First of all, I would like to introduce myself, Norbert Schlingmann. I'm the general manager of AEF, and I'm very happy to talk about this very important topic for AEF. First of all, what means interoperability of ISOBUS systems? Yeah, systems have to work together within and across organizational boundaries. You listened, I'm pretty sure you listened very carefully on what Andrew just mentioned about cross-manufacturer connection of ISOBUS, and that is very important. It has to work at the end. Otherwise, people get in trouble. It enables, in addition, better workflows and reduce obscurities, and allows data transfer among cross-manufacturer machinery, as mentioned. So at the end, an interoperable environment improves the availability of data transfer and optimize the process. Therefore, we are where it's on a very high level for AEF that we take care about compatibility, the compatibility between the different systems. So what are the challenges for farmers, growers, from farmers and growers' point of view? First of all, you see here on the right side the world map. So all over the world, different tractor colors. Manufacturers have to connect other implements from other manufacturers. So this is a big challenge. It's a little bit different in the US, yes, and in other parts of the world, but mainly in Europe. We have these constellations that farmers and growers have different fleets to manage. Data exchange is needed. Application map import into the terminals is expected, and the service in case of problems required. So what has to be done and that is happening at the moment in some cases, the systems are not working as they should be. So again, interoperability is a must. What are our measures? Look at this picture. I'm pretty sure you have seen it in out of former presentations we made. Are these systems compatible to each other? Are these systems isobus compatible? I'm pretty sure that these systems are interoperable, can send information to others, but if they are all compliant to isobus, that is a totally different story. You have seen the picture on the right corner with a tractor and an implement, different functionalities. That has to be guaranteed. So compatibility has to be guaranteed. The systems have to be certified. That improves the interoperability between the machines. The diagnostic measures, the diagnostic check tool could be downloaded via from the AEF database. It's easy to use, available for free. And with this system, you can automatically check if a tractor or implement fulfill the requirements, so if they are certified or not. And very important, gather and discuss feedback from for compatibility issues. It's a topic we have to take care. AEF will work out a system. We have already worked out a ticket system which have to be improved. Companies need it, dealers need it to work on this issue. Data exchange is a key to manage interoperability. The exchange of basic machine information using ISO XML, or the part 10 of 11783, is a must. And what we know today is not all companies fulfill or developed an interface which supports ISO XML one-to-one. So in addition, we developed a data transmission system, EFDI, which will become an ISO standard. Our teammates are working on this together with other countries to define a standard which allows data transfer from one machine to another, or FMIS to machines, or probably different systems behind. Key factor, as mentioned before, the manufacturers to guarantee ISO XML export based on ISO XML, it's a little bit difficult. Various data formats, including shapefiles, are in use, and this leads often into confusion. I'm very open to you. That is the situation we see at the moment. And here is room for improvements. How AEF is working on this, that has to be discussed during the next couple of months. This is a challenge we, together with the industry have. As you know, isobus machines moving into a digitized world. So we have to manage working with systems of mixed fleets. That is a challenge. An additional challenge is that the communication in rural areas is often more challenging. And the interoperability depends on communication. Without communication, machines cannot send data to other machines, cannot send data to clouds, cannot send data to FMS. And this is, in rural areas, this is a key success factor. We have to take care about it. tomorrow during the wireless in-field communication presentation from Johan Witte, you will learn more how we try to manage it and what's behind. So I'm pretty sure you've seen this picture. I used it sometimes. How does today's infrastructure look like? The farmers have lots of systems to be managed, lots of interfaces to the outside world, independently if it's satellites or drone images, weather forecast systems, robotics platforms, or other platforms. And the machinery, AEF, we manage our machines. No, wrong. Our manufacturers manage their machines to get connection to FMS software. Mainly the machine manufacturers have their own platforms, and this has to be managed. And the connection between these platforms, that is a very big challenge we have to take care about. So as mentioned, the data collection and the connectivity is very important. And most manufacturers have, as mentioned, their own platforms, using today different data models, and which leads sometimes into some problems. Farmer needs to manage their machines. That is important, and they have to be capable to use multi-branded fleets with standards, and this standard has to be developed. And data and report needs to be in the system directly after work on the field. After the work on the field is done, otherwise farmers get in trouble. So in this case, interface to connect different platforms is needed, and Hara will give us an overview, will give us all an overview later on how we plan to manage this platform. My last slide, a short summary, how to manage interoperability. As mentioned from Andrew and myself, we have to certify or have to guarantee that companies certify all their products, and this product should be available in the AEF Isobus database. We have to foster certifications to take care of compatibility between Isobus systems. I repeat myself, I know that because this is a very important key factor we have to take care about. New functionalities, like you got it from Andrew, truly force certifications due to usage of the PKI, the public key infrastructure, so a special mechanism to generate a trust between tractor and implement, as we did it for Tim. Data has to be easily manageable by the end customer. The ticket system will improve the service-oriented approach, and seamless connectivity and data are key to guarantee interoperability. So the small picture at the right end, it works. That is back to Agritechnica last year. That was our motto for the Agritechnica. It works, and that's our main topic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for now. I hand over to Hara, where you will see how we manage to reduce the problems we have with interoperability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norbert. That was a great presentation. Hara, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Would you like to share your screen and start
Yes.
giving us an overview on Atlas?
Okay. Does it work now?
Not yet, but the electrons might be moving slow at the moment.
Okay, I've shared it. So is it coming up? Okay, there it is.
Presentation mode. So please go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Andrew. And thank you both, Andrew and Oliver, for the introductions to the topic of interoperability. Today, I'm here to present from AEF's perspective the project Atlas. Atlas is an EU-funded project funded under the Horizon 2020 program that the EU has rolled out for years now. So it's mainly a research and innovation project that AEF joined last year. Myself, I joined also quite recently AEF and also the sector. I'm hired as an AEF project manager for the project Atlas. So I would say we are a special newly formed team within AEF as well, but not so well established as the previous project teams that you heard about. So what is AEF's vision before I jump into the Atlas topic? So to summarize also what the previous speakers, my colleagues just mentioned, AEF is now stepping into the topic of data interoperability at the cloud level. So we have appreciated as industry that there is a lack of interoperability between the different agricultural systems. That's done, and AEF has also committed themselves to overcome the hurdle of proprietary systems and of different data models which limit or block this interoperability. So the main drive is to improve the existing agricultural products, develop new products, streamline farm processes, and improve the overall user experience. How do we do that? So these are the key 3 points I want you to listen from me today, to take away with you from this presentation. So AEF is aims to adopt a system of systems approach to serve the farmer. This means that the data becomes accessible to the user, to the farmer, in one central point. Hence, that data can help the end user, the farmer, make the right decisions at the right moment. That's what we mean by data accessibility. So the right data and within the right time framework. AEF also would like to determine within this project, but also in general, the workable sets of value data. What we mean by value data is that only the data that is necessary to realize a specific data service, a specific use case, will become accessible via this central point. And this data can be found and can be retrieved at the OEM infrastructure level. This is the first point of access for retrieving the data. It's either a data platform or a cloud that an OEM or another provider owns. The data, either way, is accessible at this level to the end user, to the farmer, to empower his daily decision making and to help him improve or her improve the efficiency of field operations. And where do we see AEF also in the picture is, of course, at the standardization of data access and secure data flow. This is where AEF can certainly add value to this Atlas project, but also to the industry as a whole. That it means that we need to ensure that data is flown in an easy, protected way, and is flown across different brands. That will increase the trust among the users. So it's a type of certifying this data flow, if you like, or the users that are behind, the participants that are behind this data flow. So having this in mind, AEF also joined the Atlas EU Horizon 2020 project. At the bottom here, you see 12 member companies that have teamed up in the AEF and have actively joined the Atlas project to work with the partners, with the different partners in Europe to solve this interoperability problem. So that's how a typical working day, I'm afraid, looks like these days. So we're all used to these screens and platforms, but nonetheless, we have a good collaboration with our partners, and we have already been through the first technical review for the project last June. So a little bit more, in a nutshell, a little more high level, 30 partners from Europe are involved in the project. The logos are small, but I'm giving the website at the end of my presentation so you can have more details. And Fraunhofer, the German Research Institute, is the coordinator of the project. These 30 partners come from 8 different countries. This is very helpful and very useful because it helps to test the cases, to test our concepts with the partners across different countries. So this will ensure hopefully the cross-country interoperability that is also the aim of AEF, not only at European level, at global level, but within this project, at least we ensure that at European level, this is tested and validated. The project started last October 2019. and it has a duration of 42 months. So it will run until March 2023. We have secured funding of 50 millions, and 30 millions are coming directly as a co-funding from the EU Horizon 2020 program. So what are the objectives of this interoperability project, this EU project? First, we need to understand the end user's needs. Means that we need to do this, the stakeholder analysis to find out what the users of this envisaged interoperability network want to get from us, want to get from Atlas, and that's done. That's already done in the project by interviewing farmers, by interviewing contractors, by engaging with the marketing departments of the various AEF member companies that are involved in Atlas. The second point here is we would like to develop a service mesh network, and that's already a work in progress. This means that all the services, that's what it implies here, that all the services that the end user would like to receive are available through the Atlas interoperability network. The second solution we see also answering or giving solutions to the end user is an open and digital app platform, and we have partners taking care of that and building, let's say, apps, providing different services through apps for the end user. So standardizing interface for data exchange has already been mentioned. It's the fourth key point here, and our role in the project is to make sure that we have standardized interfaces and we produce good guidelines that can be the basis of a new standard similar to what AEF has already achieved successfully with TEAM, for example. Foster innovation through cascade funding is also in the scope of Atlas. This means that the consortium is open to receive innovation from smaller, from startups or from newly formed companies or SMEs in Europe that have an interest to provide services or to provide infrastructure of any kind for this interoperability network we are developing. This is done through open calls, and there are in total 2 open calls that people can apply for funding through the project to develop their ideas with us. At the end of the day, it's about testing. It's a large-scale pilot study. Large-scale pilots are being implemented across the 8 countries the project is active in, and this will help to grow also within the limits of this project as a sustainable ecosystem, but also beyond the project. We would like to grow this community of service providers, OEMs, and other stakeholders, authorities, policymakers, etc., that can help sustain the interoperability network developed from this project. So, in a nutshell, I would say the Atlas aims to develop a framework, a rule set, and prototype for a normed, scalable service network, and that's important because so far we've seen that the point-to-point integrations do not scale. So we need something that is scalable, and that Atlas does, in order to drive the development of interoperability standards for information exchange across all kinds of agricultural entities, not only machines. And that is also shown on this high-level architecture image on this slide. So we have sensors, sensor platforms, machinery, and AEF represents this stakeholder group, but also farm management systems. And of course, we have analytics to support the data that comes to support and to collect, and process the data that comes from these stakeholder groups. So it's a service-oriented architecture, as we can see from the photo. This means that there's a minimum of centralized components. The main central component is this cloud here. It's not to be misinterpreted. It's not a data hub. There's not central data hubs in the network of Atlas. It's just a point of registering these services that these stakeholders or platforms provide at the end of the day to the end user, to the farmer, let's say, for simplicity. So the main principle of the architecture is that it relies on trusted and autonomous partners with full control over the data they provide in order to build that data service for the farmer, and to support data exchange through dedicated connectors, which are these services. Analysis, again, of data and providing decision support services lies in the hands of our partners in Atlas, but it's certainly something that is interesting for AEF stakeholders as well, given that it's machine data that's also being processed and that plays a key role in this decision making at the end of the day. So what is our focus in Atlas? AEF, so Atlas, let me first say that it's quite a big project, as maybe was already understood. So we have a lot of different partners covering the different components, as you can see here, in the form of clouds. And at the center of it, of course, we depict this central point of data visualization, of data that is becoming available through the FMIS to the end user, to the farmer. The AEF is focusing on the right-hand side, which is the gray block. And there we see that nowadays, today, we have different manufacturers of different brands with each owning or sharing a joint data platform, cloud, where their data is being sent to. The interconnectivity of these clouds is not given at the moment. So this is where we see room for improvement, and we see AEF being a key partner in Atlas as well, trying to establish this interface between the data platforms. If I move on to this slide, you will also see that interconnecting these platforms is one thing, but also interconnecting this and allowing the data, these platforms, to the FMIS systems, and allowing data flow to the FMIS system is also part of our scope and part of our involvement in Atlas, where also AEF has done previous work with a dedicated project team in the past. So what is the large-scale pilot studies we are aiming to run? We're aiming to conduct with an Atlas. You see a map of Europe on the right with a lot of little icons. These are mainly illustrating the different use cases, and they can be summarized as machine tracking, online task management, in-field sensor connection, field data management, target application of plant protection, advanced irrigation management, soil state and soil readiness analysis, behavioral analysis of livestock. So again, it's a long list. It's a lot of use cases across Europe, and not all of them are in the responsibility of one partner, as you can imagine. So I've put the AEF logo next to the ones that are very relevant and where AEF is putting emphasis on. So machine tracking, online task management, in-field sensor connection, field data management are the core use cases that AEF designed and is going to implement in the coming years fully. This came from the expert team that AEF set up with his 12 member companies. And I've also put the logo next to this target application of plant protection use case, which is actually a more complex use case, I would say, trying to analyze the health of the plant, the health of crops by using sophisticated sensors or advanced sensors and video and image capturing systems. Where AEF plays a role here is mainly at developing the communication interface between these sensors, which carry heavy data, a lot of data, and the machine. So there is currently an ongoing task trying to implement high-speed isobus, via which we see this data flow being possible. And this will be the first step to realizing this use case. So the first 4 use cases, I have to clarify that are the horizontal use cases, as we call them in Atlas. This means that they are actually forming part, pieces of these use cases are found also in the 4 use cases coming after them. So they are laying the foundations for the rest of the use cases to come to reality. So in summary, we have quite some work to do. We have already passed 1 year in the project, and there's a lot of work that needs to be yet achieved, but I would say that we are not far from realizing this interoperability network that is involving and trying to integrate all these different platforms and all these different data flows in one central point. So agricultural machines for sure play a role here. That's why AEF is very happy and is a very trusted partner in the Atlas project, but also sensor manufacturers, of course, play a role here, and other providers of data services. At the end of the day, what we want to achieve is to simplify this communication between these different systems. It's a term that is being buzzword that's been used around the sector for some time now, from some years now. It's the farm to fork process is quite fragmented at the moment, and this communication needs to be established. Starting in the field with this project can be also a step towards achieving that simplification in the whole process from farm to fork. Digital connection to the consumer. Consumer has to deal with a lot of administration. Consumer can be a farmer, but can also be an authority, and there's a lot of reporting going together with the farming business. So that will definitely help the end user to manage and the workload, but also manage the reporting process. We need to avoid that multiple data collection processes are in place, and this is where we also see the AEF playing a key role in this project because we represent the industry at global level, at international level, and that helps to ensure that this solution that is being developed with this project will have a big market uptake, and will have a market uptake hopefully beyond the borders of Europe. We have to ensure that the data that belongs to the farmer is not put at risk, but the farmer also is happy to share data that is generated from his machines or from his equipment or from his field that is bringing value back to him in a way. New business models for and with the farmer, that is a key also part of the project. We need to ensure this community of stakeholders is growing with more services, with more data becoming accessible to the farmer or to the end user. And we need to ensure that everybody has a clear business case in order to participate in the network and help us in the Atlas project, but also us in the AEF make the best use of this big data that everybody is talking about these days. That's pretty much all from my side. I would encourage you to contact me if you have more questions about Atlas or about AEF. I'm happy to answer more specific questions. And I would encourage you also to keep an eye on the website of Atlas. We have a dedicated website for this project. And there's also an email address you can use for that. It's directed to the coordinator. So hopefully you will also be able to connect with us via this route as well. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to go back to Andrew.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Hara. That was a great overview on Atlas. We've actually got about 5 minutes left. And I think there is the possibility for some questions, but I think they need to be read out to us. I don't think we can see the questions. Alessio, are you there?
Hello, I'm back to you. Yes, a few questions coming on the chat. The first one is that if the presentation can be made available, and I believe that the answer could be yes. I can manage that from the Federal side. I can collect the presentation and share with the audience. And then first two questions are first, is there any idea from AEF side to start a robotics or artificial intelligence project team? And the second question is, what about the TC log functionality? When will it be available?
Let me answer the first question. Probably, Andrew, you can step in with the second one. So we have it in mind. We don't know when we started, but we have to take care about robotics and autonomous machines. That's an open topic, but not beginning of next year. It has to be thought out. Lots of other initiatives started already, and we have to look and find our way.
Then what about the task controller log?
Okay, so one of the project teams is working on the task controller. The current task controller implementation is generation 1, and we have a project team working on developing the conformance test for task controller generation 2. And we envisage that as part of that, we'll be able to release something on the, if you like, the log functionality. But we needed to get this task controller generation 2, if you like, released or documented first. Norbert, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There's another question very quickly coming for Hara. Does the project Atlas involve also groups of users? In particular, I'm thinking of the French farmers cooperatives for agricultural machinery sharing, CUMA. They seem to have specific expectations about interoperability, adding a community level for data sharing.
Yeah, that's a very good question. No, so far we don't have such farmer communities directly joining the Atlas consortium. We have, I believe, 7 to 8 farmers, individual farmers in Atlas that are going to be also taking care about the test cases, the test pilots. But we are in touch with DLG. DLG is also a member of the consortium. So through them, we do have access to, let's say, more wider market surveys that have taken place with farmers in the past.
So any other question from the audience? I don't see new ones coming. So just to take the last minute to thank you all, Andrew, Norbert, Hara, for joining this first presentation of the AEF, and I invite all of the audience to follow the next webinar tomorrow about the next steps of the AEF. So thank you very much for today, and well, have a good day to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.